Welcome everyone to episode 30 of the Girls in Movement podcast, where we talk to founders and influencers from across the globe. Girls in Movement is a not-for-profit project looking to empower young girls in India. We have a very exciting guest on our show today, and I'm sat here with a cup of their famous drink in my hand. We're speaking to Alex, who is co-founder of Tuk Tuk Chai, a unique Indian drink which is hitting shelves everywhere. There's a really nice and authentic backstory to this brand and really close to home for me. And I suppose since developing the brand, they are now being stocked in Sainsbury's, Harvey Nicks, and now selling on Amazon as well. They've recently hit the headlines after turning down investment from Dragon's Den, which we would love to hear more about. So without further ado, I welcome Alex, co-founder of Tuk Tuk Chai. How are you, Alex?
Hello. Hi, Polly. Thank you very much for inviting me to join the podcast today. Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, no, I'm really good. And honestly, thank you so much for joining us. We know how busy you guys are. Let's start from the beginning. So yourself and Rupesh are co-founders of Tuk Tuk, which is a great brand. And I suppose it'd be great for our audiences to know, what were you doing prior to this venture?
Okay, so it's worth mentioning as well that Rupesh and I are husband and wife as well. So Rupesh came to England in 2002, and for the last just over 10 years, he's been running his own telecommunications business. So he's been doing that with through saving from this business. That's what enabled us to set up Tuk Tuk Chai. For my part, I was from a completely different industry, and I've been a charity fundraiser over the last 10 years, so working for large to smaller charities in the UK.
Excellent. And tell us about, how did Tuk Tuk Chai come about? How did it start?
Okay, so basically, I'm French. Rupesh is from Kerala, so we travel to India almost every other year or every year. And I've grown obsessed with authentic chai made either by Rupesh's mom or on the streets of India by the chaiwalas. And obviously, when we get back home in the UK, you can't find real authentic chai. It's either I find quite synthetic tasting powders or tea bags at best, or flavorings or syrups. So it was really not the real deal. So I used to ask Rupesh to brew it, to bring the tea from India and then brew it at home. Obviously, it's quite complex. It takes time and it makes a mess. So he ended up a bit fed up with it. So that's really the background story. And then one day, while actually traveling in India, the idea came up that there was no such thing as a ready-to-drink authentic chai. And also the fact that chai is actually milk tea in a nation of tea drinkers. So it made a lot of sense to launch the first ever authentic chai, or also authentic iced milk tea.
So for those who don't know, what Alex was talking about previously, of how chai is quite a long process to kind of make the ingredients. And personally, I'm from an Asian background, and when my mom says when guests come over that you have to put the chai on, it's a long process and you just don't want to be doing it compared to just putting the kettle on. So yeah, I get the thought that why not think of something which can be in a carton and still taste just as good, and it actually does. So yeah, I gave it to my grandparents as well, and I told them that I had made it. They first didn't believe, but yeah, they absolutely loved it.
Thank you.
It's a really good concept, and I love that it's come out of such a beautiful place like Kerala as well, which is very cool. What have been sort of the biggest challenges, I suppose, of getting this brand up and running?
Where do we start? So I think the biggest challenge, has been the actual development of the product. Because as you said, okay, it's a bit tricky to make at home in the kitchen, but obviously, it's fine. The recipe, obviously, we didn't invent in the sense that, it's a national recipe across India. but what made the real challenge was taking it to the large scale. So taking it to the finding a factory first of all who could brew tea with milk was an absolute close to impossible task. We eventually found the one and only factory who could do it in Europe. So we did that. So eventually we found the factory, so that was fine. But then obviously, as we kept developing the product, it took us 2 years to perfect the recipe because the reaction, there's some sort of reaction when you do it large scale, which would turn the whole product into anything but chai. So we had to keep trying. It cost a lot of money as well. So as a startup, it's quite tricky. So yeah, it took us 2 years. So that was definitely the worst challenge, I think.
How big's the team at the moment then?
So it's Rupesh full time and me part time.
Nice. Okay.
Not
Wow.
even part time.
I mean, when you see the brand in Sainsbury's, I find it phenomenal that it's just the two of you working on this. It's you've done very, very well. So yeah, huge credit to you both.
Thank you. I
Okay.
mean, sorry, I was going to say we outsource some of the work. We have third parties helping us. We carefully select them, but yes, that's the core brand, the core team.
Yeah, no, and that's what startups do now, and it's a lot of freelance have to outsource, which
exactly.
is a lot more cost effective as well, which we all know has been part of startups. So talk to us about the experience on Dragon's Den. How did that come about and what happened?
Okay, so how did that come about in the sense of why did we decide to go?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think as a startup, the idea often comes up that this could be the route to securing investment. Obviously, we'd come to a point where Tuk Tuk Chai needed some external investment. We couldn't just keep putting all of our personal savings into it. So Dragon's Den came up as a great opportunity. And to be honest, although we got an investment offer from Peter Jones, which we accepted on the Den. Although we've decided mutually to part ways, it was a great experience that we don't regret taking part in at all. It's first of all the fact that you have 5 very, very, very successful business people able to give you feedback on your product and your strategy is great. Either, for us, it was quite reassuring that we were doing the right thing. Deborah, for instance, said that we had an awful lot of things right. So it was quite reassuring because, you sometimes wonder in the early stages, are we really going about things the right way? So you need some people from outside to feed back to you. So that was great. And yes, the exposure was amazing as well. And we were quite lucky that the Dragons really loved our product. So it was a great endorsement as well.
Yeah, no, and like you say, I mean, what better group of 5 people to have criticizing and critiquing your product, which I don't think there was a lot of critiquing really, because I think it was a great concept.
It was very positive, yeah.
Very good. And what made you turn down eventually the investment? Because it wasn't a small amount. I mean, was it?
Yeah, it was hundreds of thousands of pounds. Excuse me. So what happened is, obviously, we were there for over an hour and a half on the Den, but the edit is cut down to less than 15 minutes, so you don't see every conversation that goes through. The way they've edited it makes it sound like we gave away £100,000 for a traditional investment offer based on 33.3% equity. The reality is, on the Den, Peter Jones said he wanted to be an equal partner with us and share equal responsibility with us, which justified a third of the company.
Yeah.
However, when we went back to meet with his team, we realized that it was not exactly that. It was just a traditional offer, so a traditional investment. So that was, considering we'd gone in asking for £100,000 for 5%, that was a big jump.
Yeah.
So from our point of view, it didn't make sense. And Peter Jones' team were very conscious of, they wanted us to join only on the basis that we were satisfied and, it was working for everyone. So that's why we shook hands and decided to part ways. And then eventually we decided to go to the crowd. And by the way, that's something that we mentioned on the Den as well. And Deborah Meaden said to us that was the best strategy for us to go to crowdfunding and build an army of brand ambassadors who would shout about Tuk Tuk Chai. So that's why we decided to go to the crowd, and we raised 3 times more. We raised £300,000 for much less equity.
Oh wow, no, that's really good, and it's great that even Deborah kind of gave you the advice around crowdfunding as well, because obviously that's in the back of your mind. But I mean, for those who don't know as well, crowdfunding is it's a long process to even get to the point where it's live on the website, etc. But the positives of crowdfunding is definitely that the kind of attraction that you get from lots of different individuals and people buying your product all of a sudden, which is a huge positive. So I mean, what a great way to do it. You're on Dragon's Den and then also live on a crowdfunding site, which is really good.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely are happy we took down that route in the end.
Good stuff. And you recently had a trip to Kerala then, so back to kind of the hometown, as I suppose, for Rupesh. But talk to us about that. What were you doing out there, and was just kind of a family visit, or were you doing other stuff out there as well?
Okay, so we visited in August, which sadly coincided with the worst floods in 100 years in Kerala. So it was not the ideal time to be there. It was really sad because we kept hearing of our family was safe, but of people who had been affected by the flood. Either, one of our friends' mum, for instance, was stranded on her roof for quite a while. So, those kinds of stories, people had lost everything. So it was not really the best time. We were supposed to go to visit the tea plantation, tea and spice plantation that we work with. Obviously, they got affected, not directly themselves, but the whole area was affected by the flood. So that was cancelled because we obviously wanted to combine it with a work trip. So all of the plans got kind of cancelled. But we still managed to do a bit of to do a few things. So see family and visit a couple of spent a bit of time in Fort Kochi, etc. And then took a train to Bangalore, got stuck overnight because of the floods. 24-hour on an Indian train. That was interesting.
Not the most fun.
Well, to be fair, I felt they were more comfortable than our trains because you had those beds, so you have more room. It was not as horrendous, and obviously half of it was in the night, so they're kind of sleeping. So so it was not that horrible, but it's just not knowing how long more it was going to take and very little food. We fed ourselves on chai and biscuits.
Not a bad combination. And would Tuk Tuk Chai ever take the product to Kerala? Is it stocked anywhere there or anywhere in India?
No, it's not stocked there. It's something that we're thinking about at one point, but it's not on our plan for now.
Fair enough. And what are the future plans then for 2019? I mean, you're stocked in Sainsbury's, Harvey Nicks, Amazon, and are there any that I'm missing there? And what's the future plans for 2019?
So the priority for us is to grow our base in Sainsbury's. We're currently based at 100 and a bit, just under 110 stores in Sainsbury's. So we're hoping to grow the listing to 400 stores. And the key priority for us is to raise brand awareness.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a small number of people who know about us, but because we've created a completely new vertical or a new category in the supermarket, we really need to shout about it and get people to try it, test it, love it, and buy it again.
Yeah, 100%. And my final question to yourself, Alex, which I ask all my guests, if you could give your younger self any advice, what would it be?
I think there would be plenty, but I think in terms of work, I think to be a bit less worried about what others think and less worried about taking risks. I think be more explorative, because I think when you're young out of university, you don't always know what exactly you want to do, so you might go into what you feel comfortable about. I never in my life envisaged that I would run a business.
Exactly.
But if you'd told me that 10 years ago, I would have never believed it. So, it shows that, as you get a little bit older, maybe you become a bit more, you you take a bit more risk. You challenge yourself maybe a little bit more. That's what happened for me anyway.
No, that's really good. I suppose you kind of, as you get older, you think, what have you got to lose? Whereas when you're young,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's encouraging to know that there's lots of young entrepreneurs starting now, fresh out of university, and some even in secondary school, which is
there's a new culture. I think that in a way, yes, this generation of young people, they're way more daring, I think, and very entrepreneurial. It's quite, I think they're very hardworking and yes, entrepreneurial. Where maybe for me, certainly at university, people were more into parties and taking it a bit easy. So I've just met a few young people now. I think I can't believe what they've achieved, and they're so young.
Yeah, no,
it's amazing to see. Amazing, very inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. It's very inspiring, and no, your brand is a great brand for young people to look up to, especially within the food and drink industry, because it's so saturated. And to get your brand on the shelf in Sainsbury's, like, you would have fought your way through a lot of competition. So yeah, huge credit to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being a guest, Alex, on the podcast. Huge thank you. And if you want to download the podcast, it's live on iTunes. Just type in The Girls in Movement. And of course, it will be live on YouTube and every social media channel under the sun. So again, thanks so much, Alex.
No, thank you so much. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.